I'm sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
East Coast with the gang, gang, gang. West Coast with the gang, 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 gang. Lower with the gang, 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 gang. You know we don't play gang, gang, gang. East Coast with the gang, 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 gang. West Coast with the gang, 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 gang. Lower with the gang, 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 gang. You know we don't play gang, gang, gang. East Coast with the gang, gang, gang. West Coast with the gang, gang, gang. Lower with the gang, gang, gang. You know we don't play gang, gang, gang. East Coast with the gang, gang, gang. West Coast with the gang, gang, gang. Lower with the gang, gang, gang. You know.
Yeah, whoa, East Coast with that gang gang. You know we don't play games, whoa. Hop up on that wagon, oh please just get out the way. You know we stay stuntin', right up in your face. We sorry, not sorry, we just stuck up in our ways. West Coast gon' head stand up, put that glass and hands up. Gang, 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 we famed up. Got that change, we bagged up. Crew love, we stay manned up. Ahem like I'm wheezy, yeah. Rap game just too easy, drip so sick, I'm queasy, whoa.
East Coast with the gang, gang, gang. West Coast with the gang, gang, gang. Lower with the gang, gang, gang. You know we don't play gang, gang, gang. East Coast with the gang, gang, gang. West Coast with the gang, gang, gang. Lower with the gang, gang, gang. You know we don't play gang.
Yo, what up, peepages? Welcome to episode 872. Come on in and drop some biceps and some gorillas. It's Papa. What up, Papa? What up, beaches? What's up, my beaches? Yeah.
Watch me finesse, walk to the line. Good versus evil, God in his prime. Always in prime, always on time. Hard time to shine.
Wifey is fine.
I'm doing fine.
Glad you asked.
God fill me up.
Mud in my glass.
God clean me up. All that I asked, wherever you headed,
You headed there fast.
I am ahead, you are in last.
Last time I checked.
You are all gas. Gas in the whip it up fast. Fast and all furious, I'm starting to spaz.
Ooh, we got peeps on Twitch. Dale on Twitch. Holla. Ken. Dale. What's up, beaches? What's up, bitches? What's up, bitches? I said, what's up, my bitches? Papa fucking Swole, Papa fucking Swole. Let's get this going again. Let's do it again.
There's that one song that
We're about to get started. Make sure you drop some. Hey, float some biceps, float some hearts.
But then you start catching a vibe.
No freeloading. No freeloading on the Swole. You can't just come in and not do anything. Say something. Say something, Daddy. Why won't you talk to me, Daddy? Why won't you talk to me, Daddy? Talk to me. Why won't you say hi? Say hi to Papa Swole, yo. Say hi to Swole, yo. Say hi to Swole. Papa fucking Swole, yo. Papa fucking Swole, yo. Papa fucking Swole, yo.
East Coast with that gang gang.
Yo.
You know we don't play games.
Yo.
Hop up on that wagon.
Swole.
Please just get out the way.
Yo.
You know we stay stuntin'.
Papa.
Right up in your face. We sorry, not sorry. We just stuck up in our
Wait.
West Coast gon' head stand
Hand
up.
up.
Put that glass and
Head
hands
up.
Gang, we
Head
famed up.
up.
Got that change, we bagged up. Crew love, we stay manned up. Ahem like I'm
Wheezy,
wheezy,
baby. Rap game just too easy.
Drip so sick, I'm queasy. Whoa.
Yes. Yes. Eric, Chuck, Valerie, Casey, Oliver, Ken, Diane. Hello, D. Hello. Hello, puppets. Hello, puppets. Hello. Ooh, the gains. Up, remix. Making sick fucking gains. Making sick fucking gains. Making sick fucking gains. Yeah.
Watch me finesse, walk to the line. Good versus
872 today. We're going to talk about how fast you can get results, building muscle, losing fat. Let's get realistic. Let's talk about some newbie gains. Let's talk about gains, man gains, lady gains, all kinds of gains. Take a lot of questions today. Tuesday. Yeah. Okay. Here we go, fam. Like, share, blow this podcast up. We's are going to start. If it's your first podcast, make sure you say hello and say it's my first podcast. Your virgin Swole. Gotta pop that gains cherry. There we go, fam. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Sick games. Finish the bullshit.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Flex on them. Flex on them. Testing, testing, testing. Test, test, test. Testing, testing, testing. Ahem, ahem. Testing, testing, testing. Testicles. Testing, testicles. Testicles. Ooh. Welcome, everyone, to episode 872 of the most muscular Swolecast, Beardcast, Broadcast, Gangcast, Mancast, Pimpcast, Sleevescast, Slaycast, and Nipplecast in the realm. Because when I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps. And you know it's true. Pinch your nips if you agree. Yeah. And the nips are like weather vanes, and they are telling me that it is Tuesday, and they're also telling me it's episode 872. Wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? Surprise, surprise. The nips have a brain of their own. Welcome, everyone, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, Periscope, YouTube, and the podcast peeps, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, SoundCloud, Undercast, wherever the fuck you listen. There's so many podcast things. There's so many audio players, and I see that in my stats. It's just like, list them all. I'm like, holy shit, I haven't even heard of any of these apps. However, Papa Swole's everywhere. Just look up Daily Swole Podcast. But most of you are listening on Apple. Most of you are listening on Spotify. That's a majority. But I'm on Google Play. I'm everywhere. Daily Swole Podcast. Bam. You can find me. What's up? What's good? We're taking some questions already. Flex your biceps. I did. I do. I always do. Good Lord. Good Lord. And if you want to follow me on Instagram or anywhere, it's Papa Swole. Not Papa Swole. It's Jesus Christ. It's Swolenormous everywhere. At Swolenormous. And you can find me everywhere. Let's get that. There we go. Nipstrodamus. Ooh, Nipstrodamus. Ken, I'm taking it. That's great. That's great. New shirt. Papa Swolio pinching his nips, says Nipstrodamus. I fucking love that one. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one, lad. I love it. It's fucking great. Nipstrodamus. Well, the nips are telling us. Well, it's telling me to tell you what I'm about to tell you for episode 872. How do I get a girl to talk to me and ask questions first and get onto it? That is incoherent. I don't understand. Get onto it? Get onto it, like get onto your dish, like get on it. I don't think you can a girl's going to ask questions and just get onto it. I don't think that's how it works. So that might be your fundamental problem right there. How do you get a girl to talk to me? Well, they usually answer if you talk to them first and ask questions. Well, they'll like get going with the conversation. Go ask them a question. Go ask them a question, yo. There you go. Just be like, yo, what up? And they're going to be like, get the fuck away from me, creep. No, you just got to be more forward. Be out there. You got to be places. Or you can be a hermit and still get laid by going on Twitter and just swiping left and right. I'm just kidding. But there you go. I mean, how do you get anyone to talk to you? You have to talk to them, right? Approach them, talk to them, right? Stop that noise. What noise? What noise? Me? Hit her up with the Bill Cosby. Ooh. Don't hit her up with the Trump. You'll go to jail if you go and just grab it. Use your words. Yeah, use your words. Like I always talk to this girl on text, but at school, it was awkward to her. Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting? You idiot, you'll get banned from Twitch. Is that true if I don't put on a shirt? I don't know. I've been streaming on Twitch for a long time. From like my shoulders up. How do you know I'm not wearing a shirt that's like below my chest? You can't really see my body. You don't have to hate. I don't really care. Anyway, yeah, I don't do a shirt on this show often, but Twitch is no big loss either way. Okay, all right. Well, I don't think enough people are following me for the uproar for my shoulders. Oh my God, I could see his traps. There's a huge outcry against my clavicles on the internet. I got my fiance onto listening to your podcast. She loves your no bullshit approach. Nice. Well, this podcast is for men and women. It's for everyone. Yeah, all right. Well, I appreciate you putting that out there. It sounds kind of familiar. I just don't. That's not my primary platform. But I don't know. Sometimes I do wear a shirt. Sometimes I do wear an undershirt. Maybe I'll take that into consideration. Yeah. See if I was any kind of a big streamer on Twitch. Well, when Twitch starts really coming more into the forefront, and it starts getting a little bit more away from video games and stuff. If they actually put up a fucking fitness section, if anyone on Twitch is actually paying attention, please just, how easy is it to load up a category that just says fitness? Fitness, that's it. Just put it under fitness. Although this is, I guess, technically a talk show. It's fitness based, but come on. I'm just surprised. I'm surprised. I know, it's like, I don't even know if I want to do it on Twitch. If I can't, I don't like being, I don't like doing anything that anyone tells me to do. That's why I'm doing this. Right? Oddcast. You look like you work out, but I can already tell you don't run worth a crap. I can tell that you're not that intelligent from your words. So we both have an opinion, don't we? Swole got a tube top. Maybe. Come on. I'm sexy. This is why I watch you, Papa. Keep the shirt off. The ladies have spoken. The swole hoes have spoken. The swole hoes have spoken. Your muscles are not cut. Get off the treadmill and hit the streets running, bro. Yeah, that's how you get lean, is running. Fuck off. Twitch. See, this is why I don't give a shit about Twitch, because you got trolls. I'm not cut. Good Lord. Oh no, not shoulders. How dare you show off your collarbones? I know. All right, well, freedom of speech rules, and I love all your comments. I love all of you. No hate anywhere. Welcome everyone to 872. I hope you enjoyed the latest content I was dropping. Who here saw that YouTube video? I also posted a clip on Instagram, of course. It was only a minute long, about the IKEA, right? The IKEA hot dog, or I should put in quotes, IKEA hot dog. Isn't that gross? I thought it was funny. Someone sent that to me on Instagram, and I literally had to make a video on it right away, just because first off, you have IKEA making fucking food. All right. Then you have the misdirection of 100%. It said in the comments, in the caption, it said 100% flavor, 0% meat. 100% flavor, 0% meat. First off, that I don't know who agrees with that, because usually 100% or actually 0% meat is 100% crap. So that was our caption. So that really set me off in a sense. That's like, all right, first off, IKEA makes low-grade furniture that you build yourself, right? You buy it in a flat box. I mean, float some hearts or biceps or thumbs down or whatever if you've been to IKEA. Most of you have been to IKEA. If you haven't, it's a huge, like supercenter store, but it's like serve yourself, right? They have all these mock-ups when you walk through. You see these whole living room setups, and essentially you go there and you buy pre-made furniture, pre-cut, pre-drilled, and they just give it to you, but you assemble it yourself, right? They give you some cheap tools. You can use your own stuff, but they'll give you the screws, and they just kind of give you all the slats, the boards and stuff, and you bring them out to your car and you load them up. So you make it yourself. You don't buy it pre-assembled. They don't bring it into your house. You go home and you make it yourself. So I'm not really knocking IKEA from that sense, because you can get very affordable and decent furniture. I knocked their furniture in the video, but I mean, look, you're not spending thousands of dollars to get a bedroom setup or to get a couch. Like, you can get very, 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 very simple stuff. Okay, it's great for college dorms. It's great for something. I just want a table for outside or in the rec room or something. It's cool. You could even use it for your main furniture. Like, who cares? This is just foofy stuff that people spend extra money on. So it's, they charge less because you make it, right? they charge less because you make the furniture. They just ship the pieces, and it's a brilliant concept. But you walk through, you get the cart, the roller and stuff. You have to find it, because a lot of times these things they're not where they're supposed to be, and you look up the code on the search and it tells you this aisle, this, and you go and you get it. So you can go and look in their showroom and you see, I want this couch, or I want this chair, or this, and then you go and you look for it in their warehouse and you put on your thing, you drag it out, and then you pay for it, and then you put it in your car, you go home and you fucking build it. A lot of times when you get home, things are chipped, you're missing screws and stuff like that. Common mistakes from mass production, right? Common mistakes from just mass production. You're making thousands, millions, whatever of these parts. You're going to miss some screws. You get home and something's cracked or dented from shipping. You're like, fuck. Then you have to go back, return. It's a pain in the ass. So, they have a bistro there because when you're there for hours, you get fucking hungry. So they have slop there. Obviously, it's not going to be quality food. And now they're promoting, I don't know why they're promoting their hot dog, their all new vegan hot dog, but it's sitting in a processed garbage bun. So even if you are a vegan, like that's what I don't understand. I don't care if you're vegan. I knock that shit because I make fun of vegans that eat fake meat products. It's like, if you're going to eat vegan, then eat your rice and beans and don't eat meat and, protest with PETA. Like, I don't care what you do, and it's your personal belief and your personal health, and it's your body, right? Your body, your rules, do it. Then you're eating this fake food that looks like a hot dog. It's just denial, right? It's one of those just basic levels of denial that you don't want to eat meat. You say you don't want to eat meat, but you do. You're eating a hot dog. That's a meat product. You're eating a burger. That's a meat product. You're eating a pizza. That's from animal, right? You're having the cheese. It's not a pizza just because it's in a fucking circle. All these things are just kind of like this denial that you want to eat animal products. And I just thought it was funny because if you're going to be a vegan and you're like, oh, shoot, they have a vegan hot dog. You're going there, but you're still eating garbage because it's on a shitty bun. It's a shitty bun. So, yeah, I made that video. If you haven't checked it out, Instagram and on YouTube. And yeah, it's disgusting. It looks like a turd, and it's just compressed GMO soy and all this fake stuff. It's for those deniers, those that are in deep, deep, deep denial. Let's see. Don't talk about Fight Club. Ooh, good movie. Good movie. I just spent 600 pounds there last weekend just getting my house started. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the furniture at IKEA, but you get what you pay for. You don't pay a lot. You build it yourself. You're going to have things that aren't aligned properly. You're going to get things that are cracked, or you're missing screws and you have to kind of hack it together. But, when you're buying on a budget, that's what you're going to get. So I just thought it was funny. I know they have food, and I know that, and most places, right, if you go to a baseball game, they're going to have food. If you go to these big stores, they're going to have food because they can make extra sales. From a business standpoint, I'm just talking about it's fucking gross, and I'm making my video. It's a funny video. I know it's a way for them to make more money. Why wouldn't you? If I owned IKEA, I would have a bistro too. And I would probably offer the same fucking product because why? If you're trying to make money, people are going to buy it. People are going to buy it. You should have seen the comments on that post. If you want to go and check it out, it's IKEA USA on Instagram, and you will see all the comments. People are like, oh, great, or like getting excited about this nasty artificial hot dog. So obviously they're going to sell it, and it's pretty gross. So if you go to IKEA, more power to you. I don't care. Don't recommend the meatless hot dog. Looks pretty gross if you ask me, but you can go over to their Instagram and you can make your own opinion on that. So that's that. Getting into today's episode, and good questions, good engagement. People are loving IKEA in the comments. Ooh, PETA, P-E-T-A, people eating tasty animals. Uh-oh. That's a good t-shirt right there. I'm sure it exists. So what I want to talk about today being Tuesday, today being the day before Hump Day and after Muscle Monday. So yesterday's episode, Muscle Monday, about the biceps was fire. I hope you all enjoyed that one. We're still cutting through these muscles. Remember, if you want input on what muscle we're going to do next week, it's going to be a little bit different because I am going to be out of town next Monday. So you're going to get a bunch of road swoles. So just a heads up, next week, I'm not going to be streaming on multiple platforms. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to get live video during the podcast. Might just be live on Facebook, for example, but it's going to be limited when it comes to the actual live streaming. So it's not going to be in the same. It's not going to be in the same place because I'm not going to be in town. However, I'm not going to be doing like a multiple massive stream on all these different platforms. But the podcast, at minimum, the podcast, even if I can't get live video, the podcast will be put up daily as always and recorded. And if I can't do it live, I'll be doing a lot of Instagram stories, and I'll probably go live on Facebook and make it casual just because my internet connection might not be as solid. I don't want to say something and not be able to deliver. So where I'm going, visiting, the internet and the service and technology is usually sparse. So I'm bringing my equipment and stuff, but it's not going to be like a major stream like this. Can't do that with like the laptop. Can't do a massive stream. It's too intense. Thanks, Oddcast. I appreciate your intensity over there on Twitch. Thanks for the support, man. Or girl. I'm assuming you're a dude, though. Doing a muscle each day or each week. Muscle Monday is just a specific episode because every Monday we do, and those of you that are new to the podcast, every Monday we do a different specific muscle. And I bring up a 3D model. So when I'm streaming it, I bring up a 3D model, rotate it, and kind of break down the origins, insertions, actions, and what exercise will target that properly. So next week, not going to be able to have that kind of interaction. We'll still do a Muscle Monday episode, but it's not going to be like with all the visual flair of as of late. And going to Connecticut, going to visit just family. It's where I grew up. So I will be doing some woodsy type bra. You'll probably be hearing animals and shit in the background. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll still do a Muscle Monday. But it just won't be like, we still won't have like the 3D thing. Just a little heads up. But we'll still crush the same topic. I like the Muscle Monday. I like the consistency. There's so many muscles and so many different ways we can apply this kind of content where we talk about exercise breakdowns and we talk about which exercises will best target these areas and why this is important and why the muscle works in a certain way. Remember, when you know more about the muscle, when you have education, you understand the kinesiology, how the muscle actually moves or how it actually integrates, or I should say articulates the joint, you're able to customize things more. The more you know about kinesiology, which is the tendons, the muscles, the ligaments, tendons, muscles, ligaments, bones, you understand how to customize things and how to put your body in a safe position. It really helps you isolate muscles. It's really great for bodybuilding. It's great for strengthening. It's great for those, all those different, I guess, variations you can have, especially if you're training at home where you don't have all the equipment or you want to try to build a certain aspect of your muscle. You want to target in a certain way. When you understand really fundamentally your kinesiology and how the body works, you can customize exercise on the fly and really isolate and get certain parts of these muscles, especially multiple group muscles like the biceps, triceps, and so forth. Hey, been doing lots of heavy weight lately, suffering with plantar fasciitis. Should I rest or work through it? If you work through it, you're just going to keep on inflaming it and it's not going to get better. Plantar fasciitis is inflammation of the plantar fascia. So some recommendations: yoga. I would recommend doing things like alphabets before you get out of bed in the morning. That's just like hanging your legs off the edge of the bed and doing capital letters, the entire alphabet, exaggerated with your ankles to warm up the musculature and the tendons in the bottom of your foot. Yoga, you could do rolling with a golf ball. You can put a golf ball in the freezer and roll it just to break up some of the tissue. But getting out of bed first thing in the morning, then just cranking on your feet, if you already have inflammation, that's really something that will keep aggravating it. And of course, you're always standing on your feet, so having good supports in your shoes can help alleviate the pain, but at the same time, it doesn't strengthen the arch of your foot. So you're going to have to rest, recover, reduce the inflammation, because that's what itis means. Fasciitis is inflammation. I wish I could have heard this story. I find doing isolation exercises for one muscle doesn't work for strength. It just makes you look good for the beach. No, that's not true. That's not true. It helps build a lot of strength, actually. It's important to isolate and integrate. You can get a lot more volume. You can get a lot more focus, attention with isolation, of course, but it depends on what you're looking for strength for. But it'll absolutely help when you do integrate movements, for sure. And of course, training always comes down to what your goal is. So how fast can you get results when you're actually applying yourself, when you're trying? And most of you are trying to go somewhere. You're trying to build muscle. Most of you are trying to build muscle. I don't know anyone that's ever trying to lose muscle. Like, hey, I'm too big. I'm trying to lose muscle, bro. A lot of you are trying to lose weight. And when I say weight, you're trying to lose fat. No one's really trying to lose muscle, like I just mentioned. So building muscle, losing fat, but how fast can you get results? One or the other, right? And one of the biggest misconceptions, and it's really from beginners or from starting out. If you're starting a new training program, if you haven't worked out in a while, if you're a brand new beginner to fitness and to lifting weights, it is going to be more of a windfall at the beginning of your training. You're going to see more results when you start than as you progress. And the reason for that is, you've probably heard, or you may have heard the term newbie gains. It's because of the stimulus. It's because of the new stress on your body. This is why people that start are extremely overweight and they start a drastic, let's say, diet or nutrition program, or they start training. They can lose a lot of weight very quickly. They can lose 100 pounds in 6 months or 8 months or a year, which is extremely fast. You can build some muscle or get bigger somewhat quickly at the beginning, or at least relative to where you started, because of the new stress. Now, this can be misconstrued down the line as people hitting a plateau, right? As you get more involved with your training, you feel like you're in a plateau. And I've done episodes on plateaus before. A lot of times plateaus might just be a slow incline. Just because you're looking at it at a very narrow field of view, it's going to look very horizontal in terms of your progress, right? If you're looking at a stock market chart, if you look at it at a 1 day or 5 day or 1 week or 1 month range, it might look more horizontal, not much change. But if you look at it from a 10-year or 20-year macro, you see, oh my God, it's going straight up. And that's because when you're in the moment or you're making incremental progress, that's exactly what it is. It's incremental progress. And after you get those initial results and that fast adaptation or faster adaptation, things are going to slow down. And at the beginning, when you start training, your strength will go up dramatically. And I don't know how many of you actually noticed this, and you can comment below because I'm curious, when you started training or when you first got back into training, you noticed, and tell me if you did notice this, that you increased strength rapidly. And what I mean by rapidly is you increased your strength faster than you necessarily saw a muscle growth, right? You went to the gym and let's say you're lifting 10 pounds and then all of a sudden a couple of weeks you're doing 20, 25 or 30 pounds. Like your strength increased quickly at the beginning and quicker at the beginning. And the reason for that is the neuromuscular coordination. So think of fitness and training and all this stuff think of it just like riding a bike. It's practice. And I talk about yoga as a practice, and you might have heard of yoga being discussed as a practice. You've probably heard of, you practice guitar, you practice piano, you practice painting. There isn't a lot of talk about fitness being a practice. There isn't a lot of talk about training. Like how many times have you heard of people talking about lifting being a practice? Oh, I'm going to practice weightlifting. I'm going to practice bodybuilding. I'm going to practice the gym. You never hear of anyone talk about practicing the gym. I want to make that a real big point. I want to make that a real big focus point of a lot of my content coming up, because I'm seeing a huge disconnect between the logic or the mental approach to training. It is a practice. Like you have to do it. You have to do it repeatedly. It's consistent, it's effort, and doing it consistently will help you get better because you learn your body, you learn the exercises, and by learning, it's practicing riding a bike. The first time you rode a bike, you fell on your fucking face, or you scraped your knee, you fell off, you were wobbly. And then all of a sudden you learned how to ride and it was smooth. And then you maybe took it to the next level. You started getting to mountain biking and then you started doing tricks and flips and grinds. And let's say you kept on going, but that's practice. You don't do that the first day. Rollerblading, skateboarding, anything you do, it's practice. But then when we have fitness, it's like, oh, I just go to the gym. I go to the gym, I lift weights. And then everyone wonders, why am I not getting results? How come I'm not getting change? Well, it doesn't happen overnight. You expect to start something that you've never done before and be an expert. You can't skip to the end. You have to go through the process of practicing. And the practice is going to be a lot of failure. You're going to have a lot of time of trying to figure shit out. That's what practicing is. And you might know this if you've done or you've practiced or played any kind of instrument. You're going to do an actual activity, right? You're going to do, let's say you're practicing the guitar. You're going to be trying one chord or one kind of like transition for like a couple of weeks, and it'll just be like, fuck, I can't get it. And all of a sudden, boom, you get it. Have you ever had that experience where like it just feels like you're not making any progress, you're struggling, kind of hitting your head against the wall, and all of a sudden, boom, you get the chord, and all of a sudden your fingers move better. It's like you're just not getting it, and all of a sudden, boom, there's like a snap. And that a lot of times is the way that fitness works. You're trying something, you're tweaking your nutrition, you're trying an exercise, you're doing it this way, you're doing it that way, you're trying to eat maybe a little bit more carbs before your workout, or switching it to after your workouts. You try intermittent fasting. You try eating breakfast early. You try training in the morning, training in the evening. It's all a practice to see what works best for you. I know many people that have amazing results that train at night. I know a lot of people that see amazing results and train first thing in the morning. Everyone's going to be different. But how do you know if you train better at night or in the morning if you never attempt it, if you're never consistent with it? And most people don't think of it as a practice, and fitness is absolutely a practice. I am much better with my body, with my training, with my awareness now than I was 15 years ago. Am I as strong? Am I the strongest I've ever been? I can't say that I am, because I'm not training that way like I used to. I'm not trying to keep on going heavier and heavier and heavier. However, I'm aware of what works for my body control, what exercises work best for me in what situation, the training splits that I prefer when I have certain things going on with my schedule. I know that mentally, if I'm stressed out and if I am maybe like having some limitations, let's say, with inspiration to go to the gym. Sometimes I'm just sometimes I fall out of it just like you. I'm just dragging ass, or I'm a little bit burnt out. So I'll switch to a different training split so I don't overload myself mentally, so I go and still execute. I might switch to a 3-day split. I might do a chest, back, legs, and arms a week rather than do like a 5 or 6 day drawn out split, in order to not overstress myself to get to the gym every day and just kind of like ease back into it. Maybe I'll do a deloading week in order to keep consistent but not overload myself mentally, physiologically. And that's important. That's practice. That's practice. And you're not always going to see those amazing gains at the beginning. And that's why a lot of people quit. That's why a lot of people quit. When you start training, you start doing any kind of activity, you start doing CrossFit, you start doing running, you start doing rowing, you start doing yoga, you'll see progress really quickly at the beginning, because it's a new stress and your body reacts. Whoa, it shocks the body. So you'll build, or you'll stimulate strength. Your neuromuscular coordination will go through the roof. Your motor unit recruitment, your synchronicity of your motor unit, your firing of your motor neurons. Your body literally gets coordination and synchronizes the action of the neuromuscular system better at the beginning. So you'll increase in strength before you start seeing a lot of noticeable change in muscle mass. Your body will, quote, get stronger. You're not getting bigger, but you're getting stronger. Well, how is that possible? Your body is coordinating better. Your body is learning how to fire more motor neurons. Your body is learning how to get everything in sync, right? Is learning how to choreograph the neuromuscular channels properly in order to lift the weight more efficiently and not lose efficiency shaking X, Y, and Z, right? It learns the pattern because it's new. It's practicing. And when you think of your training as a practice, you start approaching it differently. You start approaching it differently because practice doesn't end. You can always get better. You can always learn something. And if you have that mindset that, okay, I don't know everything, I can always learn something, there's always something new to adjust and to add into my repertoire, then you have a different approach. You have more of a lifelong learning approach when it's a practice. If you go to the gym, and a lot of people do this, they get a program or they get a membership or they get a diet plan and they think, this is it, this is the answer, this is what I'm doing. If I do this, I'll get this. And that's not how it works. That's not how it works. That might be a very, very small sliver of the overall pie, and if you go into your training knowing that it's a practice, like I'm going to practice, I'm going to do this, I'm going to practice this, I'm going to move on to here, I'm going to progress to this because I'm going to increase the difficulty. If you approach your fitness as a practice, it is more of a lifelong approach. You're going to make better decisions because you're not rushing ahead. Imagine, and I always go back to playing the piano because I think whether or not you have ever touched a piano, you can look at a piano, you've seen someone play the piano, you know it's hard. You know it's hard to make the piano sound good. You can see someone, you see a video. If you don't know what a piano is, Google it, right? If you sat down at a piano and you've never read music and you look at, let's say one of those amazing fucking pieces from Mozart and you sit down and someone's like, play this. And you look at the music, you're sitting there, you've never played the piano before. You're like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that on the music sheet? Because it'll look like gibberish. And there's no way in hell that you'll be able to play it, period. Even if you could read that music because you've never practiced. So you can't just all of a sudden jump to advanced music. You have to start with, old MacDonald had a fucking farm, right? You start with the basics to teach your body. And that's how you're supposed to do it with your training. That's why my programs, that's why we talk about here on the Swole, every time I'm recommending yoga, stabilization training. You have to progress properly. One, you reduce your risk of injury, which is going to set you back. You have to train. And number two, you have to train at your own level. Everyone's going to have a different starting level. Even if you've never trained before, you're going to have a different body weight. You're going to have different existing conditions, whether it's previous injuries, whether it's previous ailments, your bone structure, genetics, whatever it is. You're going to have your own starting point. Everyone's starting off with different dietary habits. Every single one of you has different bacterial profiles in your gut. So your elimination diet and your end diet is going to be different. Your process and how you're going to figure things out. Some of you are going to have to practice longer before you figure out a real sweet spot. Some of you might, boom, cut out a couple things night and day. Holy shit, my life has changed. Everyone's different. That's why it's important not to get discouraged when your friend loses 40 pounds in 6 months. Well, I did the same thing and I only lost, because you're not that person. You're not that person. Of course, you're not going to see the same results. But that's what we think. We think, oh, I bought the same program or I'm eating the same foods. How come I'm not doing the same thing? Who fucking knows? But you're not that person. So how can you assume, for one thing, that's your fault? How can you assume that you're going to get the same results? And are the results the goal? Which is also interesting. Are the results the goal? Is that the be all end goal? Like, how can you quantify success? Especially with fitness, how do you quantify success? Is it a body fat percentage? We've done episodes recently. Fuck Your Scale was a recent one. I mean, a lot of you listened to that one. What was that? 860? Was that 866? I think. Fuck Your Scale. If you didn't check out that episode, check that out. But how do you quantify success? So should that be the result? That can be a result of your training, 12% body fat, 15% body fat, but is that the actual goal? Should that be the goal? I'm telling you, you're going to be a lot less likely to quit. You're going to be a lot less discouraged if you approach your fitness as practice. I don't hear, and I never hear anyone talk about fitness or training being a practice. It's a practice. Whether or not you're doing a program, you're practicing that program. You're practicing the gym. You're practicing moves. You're practicing the mentality. You're building discipline. You're practicing your warm-up. You're practicing your bench pressing. Every time you're practicing. You're doing repetitions. You're practicing. You're doing things over and over again. What's the definition of practice? Doing things over and over again to get better at them. That's a layman's vague definition, but I mean, what's the definition of practice? Fuck it. Let's look it up. I mean, how about this? I mean, while I look it up, how would you put in the comments below? How would you define practice? It's a very interesting concept. I never looked, how would you define practice? How would you define practice? Practice, according to this dictionary from Google. Let's see. Practice, a verb. To perform an activity or exercise or a skill, okay? To perform an activity, exercise, or skill repeatedly or regularly in order to improve or maintain one's proficiency. And another definition is to carry out or perform a particular activity, method, or custom habitually or regularly. I like the first one's better because if you're just carrying out an activity habitually, it doesn't mean you're practicing to get better. You're practicing to get better. Yeah, I like that. Aaron. Repetition to develop improved ability. That's usually the goal. I mean, if you're just doing something habitually, I don't think it's a practice. I guess it could be. Yeah, all right, because if you're practicing something, you could just be repeating it. You don't have to necessarily be trying to get better. It depends on what the application is, right? Not everything is, you're not always trying to, like if you're brushing your teeth, I guess you could say I practice brushing my teeth every day. It doesn't mean you're trying to improve your brushing ability. You're going to do the same shit every day. So I like that first one. To perform an activity or exercise or skill repeatedly or regularly in order to improve or maintain one's proficiency. I like that one. Yeah, to improve or maintain. I like that because then you can improve or maintain it, and then it doesn't discern between which one you should do. That's what training is. That's what lifting should be. It should be what you're doing every day. You're doing your fitness, your training in order to improve your efficiency, right? You're trying to improve your execution. You're improving your efficiency. I think that's important. I think that's very basic. But we don't think about that. We don't discuss that. We don't discuss that in terms of exercise, right? We do a workout. Well, I'll tell you what, there are a lot of people in the world today that are doing legs or chest or full body or running or rowing, and some people are doing it better than others. Okay, so there's a lot more to it than just doing it. Now, some people you can say they're doing it better, they're doing it worse, but everyone's at a different level. So when you stop comparing yourself or what you should be doing or how much weight you should be losing, how much muscle you should be gaining, how much weight you should be lifting, how many reps you should be doing, there is no should, it's where you are and what you're practicing. Now, one of the fall points could be that you're practicing something that's above your pay grade, so to speak. If you go and you practice super heavy deadlifts and you don't have the proper foundation, your form's going to be bad. You can hurt yourself and you're not going to get necessarily the great results. If your form is shitty, you can risk getting injured and lose form so you're not targeting the proper muscles. So that's a possibility. So practice needs to be the definition of like real quality practice. If you're improving your ability is doing something at your capacity, but stretching your boundaries, like adding extra to it. So it's not just, you're not just doing it going through the motions, but you're doing it at your level. So if 10 of us all go to the gym, some people might be lifting 100 pounds. Some people might be lifting 10, 50, 65, 40, but everyone could be seeing progress. Some people might be doing an incline bench, a flat bench, a lower. I mean, there's all these different, it's like yoga when you modify doing yoga poses. Each person is practicing yoga at their level, and they're each going to get better with consistent effort if you modify accordingly. And the modification for weight training in many cases is lower the weight or lower the speed of the reps or simplify the exercise. You know, go back to some if you don't have stabilization and you don't have good mobility, you got to work on some mobility to improve your ankle mobility or hip mobility so you have better form so you can improve your strength. Some people need to work on their mobility more than others. Okay, that's where they should be starting. That's where they should be focusing. They should be practicing their mobility, practicing better form. Other people that have good form can be practicing increasing their load, practicing their volume, whatever the goal may be. It doesn't, any activity. I'm just amazed how little the term practice is used in conjunction with training. It's really not. And if you think of your workouts and you think of your fitness as a practice, it makes things a lot less stressful. You stop comparing yourself to people on Instagram. You stop comparing yourself to what other people are lifting. There's always going to be someone that's building muscle, quote, faster, losing fat faster, stronger. Everyone, all the time. Not to mention when you get older, you're going to lose your own. You're going to stop being as strong as you once were or as mobile as you, I mean, mobility is a little bit different, but you're going to stop being the same or have the same capacity as you were when you were 20, when you were 30, thus getting older and things start degenerating. That's why this is very important, this concept, because you need to prepare yourself for life, for the entire breadth of your existence. And that's only going to come from a proper practice, not from trying to jump ahead, not from trying to cut corners and skip. It's from doing the work at your level and pushing yourself to the next one. I didn't get to where I am with my physique by doing more than I could handle with bad form. I never pushed myself beyond. I mean, you always push yourself and challenge yourself, right? You practice to get better, to improve your ability. But I never did it hastily or trying to cut corners, because then you risk injury. You risk not seeing the progress that you seek. And that's a huge point that's missed from fitness. So that's a great thing to focus on for this week, is to think of your training as a practice. Think of it as something that you're trying to develop, your skill. You try different exercises. You experiment with things. But it's not like you do this, boom, and you're going to get that result. If you do it this way, you're going to get the result. It's all a matter of how much work you're willing to put in. And the work doesn't mean more reps. The work doesn't mean more sets. Doesn't mean more weight. Doesn't mean more workouts per week. your best and pushing yourself and putting in the work means, are you willing to meet yourself where you are and push yourself appropriately for your capacity? That will limit your risk of getting injured. That will improve your progress, and you will be more satisfied and accomplished, because how many times can you handle going to the gym and trying to do a workout that you can't complete? How many times can you get on the scale and not see the number that's going to discourage you? How many times, like, you can endlessly set these goals and just be kind of self-depreciating and then think of yourself as less worthy, more like a piece of shit, like I'm a failure, I can't do it right, I'm struggling. Are you struggling? Are you struggling, or are you practicing? Are you struggling, or are you practicing? It's very easy to confuse the two. It's very easy to confuse struggling and practicing. More often than not, you're practicing, you just don't realize it, and you think you're doing something that's going to get a result or should get a result. And just because you're doing something makes no guarantee that you're going to get a result. You don't deserve a result. You have to work for it. And just because you're doing one thing doesn't mean it's going to lead to what you want. Maybe you're doing something a little bit wrong. Thus the practice. Thus, okay, let me try things. Let me try something else. Let me do it a little bit differently. It's not always going to turn out the same way, nor should it. So it's important to understand that practice concept and that practice aspect, because it'll help you stay consistent and get less discouraged. And that's what it's all about. If you stop, you get nothing. If you stop training, if you stop pushing yourself, if you stop going to the gym, if you stop eating healthy, and you're like, oh, it's all for naught. Well, you're definitely not going to get results if you quit. There's no chance. There's no chance of success. That's where the proper programming comes in. That's where the proper deloading weeks, that's where the mobility, that's where all these different aspects come in. But you have to practice, you have to try different things, and you have to be willing to do things that might seemingly on the surface be, I guess, less than you think in terms of your effort, or less in what you think in terms of difficulty. Oftentimes, people try to do things that they can't handle with this concept that it's going to make them get results faster. That's going to allow them to jump ahead. There's a lot of that. There are a lot of people that try to do harder workouts that they can truly handle, because if I go heavier, or if I do more volume, if I do 2 workouts a day, can I build muscle faster? You're going to fuck yourself up faster. You're going to burn yourself out faster. You're going to put yourself at higher risk for injury. You're going to break down the muscles and not give them enough chance to recover more often. You can't go ahead. You can't skip ahead. You can't skip ahead into year 5 of experience and volume. You can't just skip ahead. You can't just jump ahead endlessly. You have to meet yourself where you are and progress appropriately. So it's very easy to be like, well, I've worked out before. I worked out years ago. Let me just jump right into these intermediate or advanced workouts. Like, I want to just crush it. You get excited, then you fucking get so sore, you're jacked up, and you're not consistent. You have to be realistic. You have to make it a practice. And if you do, you will ease into it better and you'll be more consistent. It's all about consistency. It's better to back off and get in that habit and be consistent than try to crush it and then burn out after a few weeks or a few months, because then you're working backwards and you're losing progress. Dale on Twitch, when do you increase the load? Do you maintain until it feels easy and then increase again? Sure. I mean, it depends. It depends on how long you've been going heavy for, what your overall goal is, what you're actually doing. Feeling easy, if you're trying to build muscle, then yeah, of course. I mean, increase the weight when you can increase the weight. If you're going to increase the weight, you decrease the volume, drop a set, for example, drop an overall set and increase the resistance, because when you up the intensity, you want to back off on the volume because it'll balance itself out. If you increase volume and intensity, just doing a lot more sets of a heavy weight, it's a huge jump. And it's like, it's the equivalent of walking upstairs one at a time. But then if you increase intensity and increase volume, it's like taking the stairs 3 or 4 at a time. And you're only able to do that so many times before you like kind of slip and miss a step, if you know what I'm saying. So, progressing slowly, there's kind of like that seesaw effect where like you increase the intensity, but you drop the volume, or you increase the volume, like you increase the sets instead of increasing the for example, how many sets you're doing, drop the repetitions, increase the weight, and then, lower the intensity and then increase the amount of sets and then kind of like pyramid down. That's like the classic, I guess, pyramid style where you would go from, let's say, 3 sets of 10 to 3 sets of 8 and then 3 sets of 6, but then you add 4 sets and then you go back to 4 sets of 12 and then you do 4 sets of 10 and then 4 sets of 8 and 4 sets of 6 and then you do 5 sets of 12, right? You kind of seesaw like that. That's like one basic, very, 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 very simple way to like seesaw it. So when you're increasing the reps and the overall volume, you're going to decrease the intensity by dropping the weight so you can get more repetition. So it's not as much overload or as stressful. It's like doing 20 sets of max reps. You're going to, that you wouldn't do that. That's not logical. That's the other extreme. I try to tell people all the time, being consistent is the best workout. I see so many people going in head first and not lasting. It really is. And that comes with practice. I cannot tell you how valuable it is to know the signs that your body gives you when you're working out too much or you're not stretching enough, you're not paying attention to certain things. Your body will tell you. For me, I've been crushing it. I've been crushing it lately. I've been doing great. A lot of great leg workouts. The shape, everything is doing great. Yesterday, when was that? I guess 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I went to do legs. I warmed up and I did a couple sets. I just felt like it wasn't tendonitis, but it was like a little bit of tightness on the lateral part of my, I guess, patellar tendon outside. It just felt like a little bit like my body was telling me you need to back off and do a little bit more yoga or do some more glute activation. So all I usually do is I'll go back to I just refocus more on foam rolling, some mobility, and it'll be fine like in a week. It's just sometimes you start pushing it too hard and you have these existing things like from all the running. I used to do tons of trail running. I used to do tons of sports. I mean, over time, certain things and scar tissue and things just will kind of recur or rear their ugly heads. You need to be aware of when those things are knocking at the door so you don't get to the point where it's crippling. And if you have that sense, like I just kind of felt like not for today. So I just switched right away, did some shoulders, left the gym, been doing a lot more stretching. And today when I go, I'll probably could do chest today, I think, and some other stuff. Might just do some like glute activation, some hip bridges stuff. Anytime I have, any kind of like recurring or something like knee tendonitis or something of that sort, just go back to more glute activation, just focus more on glutes and hamstrings, hip extensions and things like that. And make the active practice to restore and to restore mobility and pay attention. So I know the signs that my body is telling me more mobility. Okay, so I can start going to more mobility, less squats or less this, or your body is telling you something, and that just takes practice. You have to know what your warning signs are. If I ever go to the gym or if I ever have that feeling where, I don't feel like training, I just don't feel like going. I'll either take a day off, I'll do more yoga, or I will back off my resistance training so I don't put pressure on myself to go crush it 5 or 6 days in a week. Sometimes that could be just mentally overloading. So I back off into a 3-day split. Maybe I go a little bit lighter. Maybe I say, you know what? I'm going to, just for my brain, just like the way my brain works. Because I usually, when I go to the gym, I'm going to crush it. So I have to actively reason with myself and even just kind of, I don't want to say lie to myself, but create a different narrative for what I'm going to the gym for. Okay, I'm going to be doing a deloading week. I'm going to do chest and back, but I'm going to do all stabilization, stretch, and get the real full range of motion, go light, do nice long holds. And I usually get fucking crippled sore from doing these workouts. A lot of stabilization, a lot of time under tension, a lot of full range of motion, exaggerating the kinesiology and the action of these muscles around the joints. And it's a deloading. It's less intense, but I get super sore because I'm hitting the muscle in such a different way, and it's perfect. So I still get amazing benefits. It's going to help me in the long run. Psychologically, I'm still pushing myself, but it's lower intensity. So I'm not just overloading and blasting the cartilage and compressing the joints and just stressing my body neurally. I'm remapping the muscle movements. I'm reconnecting with my body, but I'm still training hard without that same kind of intensity and overload. So I just change my focus and it reinvigorates me. It's different. It kind of wakes me up and it helps me psychologically recover. And then I get inspired to train more again. And then boom, when I'm ready, I go back in. It's about the long play. It's about the lifetime. It's about staying healthy. You can't train if you're injured. You can't. You have to modify and switch things. Like if you get hurt, and it's not about being a pussy in the gym and, oh, but then you don't push yourself. It's like, well, I'd rather not get injured and go less than crush it and then get hurt all the fucking time. Some people get hurt all the time. You're not making progress if you're recovering from an injury. You're not making progress if you're dealing with nagging things. You have to listen and pay attention to your body with these warning signs and understand what those are, because your body will tell you, hey, you're going in the wrong direction. This is going to lead to something not good. And if I feel any kind of tightness in my, my knee, or I feel like, let's say, because I'm typing, I'm doing this stuff a lot. Let's say I have some my elbow, if it ever bothered me, right away, I switch gears. It's my body telling me, it's saying, hey, we're kind of overloading this a little bit too much. Balance it out, bro. And if you ignore it, it'll be like, hey, hello. And eventually you'll just be like, yo, boom, shut it down. And it'll be too late. And then you have to really deal with the full-blown injury. So that's where a lot of people do. A lot of people they ignore. Oh, my shoulder hurts when I do flat bench, but it feels good when I do incline. They keep on going. They don't fix the problem. Yeah, those are the people that are going to be having shoulder surgeries. Those are the people that are going to have chronic shoulder problems, and it's going to affect them all the time. And they're going to have like a pop or a tear. And it's just a matter of time if you just keep on ignoring that stuff. Essential meal preps on IG. I'm always hesitant when it comes to jumping on top of anything. Is that a joke, you mean? You can train hard without training heavy. Sure. And it doesn't mean that by not going heavy. The Papa Swole, the cold brew burp. You can train hard without training heavy, of course. You can also get hurt by not going heavy. You can get fucking hurt doing anything. You can walk out the door, trip and fall on your face, and you will be hurt. However, minimizing your risk. Whenever you go to the gym, whenever you do anything in life, you are at risk of getting an injury. It's about minimizing that risk. Thus, you're training, you're preparing yourself to minimize the risk. And if you expose yourself to stress in a stressful environment, meaning the gym, you're exposing yourself to external forces and you're producing internal tension to overcome those external forces. You're taking your body through great ranges of motion and you're stressing it and you're fatiguing it. And it comes down to nutrition, sleep, flexibility, mobility, form, all those things, they all matter. So when you think about all the different variables, it's a miracle people don't get hurt more often, but the body is very resilient. If you take stock in your body and you pay attention, you're less likely to have a setback. And I think not getting injured is it might be the number one thing that people ignore, or that should be the focus point of any kind of quality program or approach to training, not getting hurt. And it's not a defensive point, because everyone says, well, but then you're not training hard, you're not going offensive. That's not true. But when you revolve your program around active recovery and making sure you're doing it right and you're listening, you're backing off when you should, it's just like drinking water. You're supposed to be drinking water before you feel thirsty. You shouldn't be taking care of your body with mobility after you have bad pain. Doing rehab, it's too late. You already fucked up. Something went wrong that you missed. Okay, oftentimes you neglected something, you weren't doing a certain type of activation, you weren't paying attention, and you got hurt. So why do these rehab exercises after you get hurt? Why not do this kind of training and do this type of approach integrated with your normal training in order to prevent that from happening in the first place? Because if you're not getting injured, you're making incremental progress consistently, and you're going to be happier and better overall for it. Why take steps back if you don't have to? You're not always going to be making leaps and bounds. You're not rarely going to, maybe only at the beginning when it's a new stress and it's a new adaptation. But if you approach your training with a practice mentality and a logical long-term, and you approach it trying not to get fucking hurt and doing the right shit, you're going to be consistently making incremental progress. And that's great, because if you want to lose 20 pounds, you have to lose an ounce at a time. You're never going to lose 1 pound in a shot. You have to lose 1 pound before you lose 5. You got to lose 10 before you lose 11, 12 before 13. I think you all know how to count. I don't think I have to continue. But it's just little tiny steps. So who cares if you lose fast or slow? You're fucking losing it. You're making your progress because it's your training. It's your practice. So that being said, go get it. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 872. Remember, catch it everywhere. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, please do leave a review on iTunes. If you listen, especially anyone, but if you're listening on iTunes, you listen on Apple Podcasts, please go jump on your computer wherever you can leave a review on iTunes and drop that. Mucho appreciated. You can subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You go to swolenormousx.com and click on podcast in the main menu, and you can see all the apps and everywhere that you can listen to it. And I'm Swolenormous everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, where. And if you're interested in this type of approach, yoga classes, full programs with everything we talked about today in mind, check out swolenormousx.com. Send me a message if you have any questions about anything we talked about today. And I will catch you tomorrow for episode 873 of the Most Muscular Swolecast, Beercast, Broadcast, Gaincast, Mancast, Pimpcast, Sleazecast, and Practice Cast. Ooh, okay, I'll pinch the nips too. Nipplecast in the realm, because when I flex, you flex. We all flex our biceps. Peace, McGee's fam. Deuce, Magoose. A Papa Swolio. Oh, out.